Hello again, everyone. It's Tuesday night, so you know what that means. It's another Facebook Live Tuesday beginner series. And last week, we went in and looked at the 5th anniversary March paper pumpkin. And if you look on your screen, you can see the instruction sheet that comes with it. And on the front, it will always show you the projects that they recommend making. And indeed, that's what we did last week. We made this one right here, and it came out so cute. I would show it to you again, but I've already given it away. I just loved it so much, I had to share it. Tonight, what we're going to be talking about, though, is how you can take your paper pumpkin supplies and play around with them to make something a bit different than perhaps what the instructions are showing you. And it's so much fun to just go in and play. So without further ado, let me bring in the pieces that we're going to be using. So I'll slide the instruction sheet out of the way and bring in the different pieces. We are going to be using the Fresh Fig card base that came with the kit. If you remember last week, we actually used the crumb cake one, but we're going with Fresh Fig this time. I also took the pink design panel, and we did use that last week. I thought it goes with that Fresh Fig so well that I wanted to go ahead and use it. And then it comes with quite a few of the die cuts, and we worked with the small flowers last week, but this week I'm going to work with part of the large floral bunch. And I'm going to bring the sheet back in just to show you these. Actually, they have going on one of the envelopes, but I thought it was just so pretty that it deserved to be center stage on a card. So we're going ahead and I did a little bit of trimming so that it would fit the card. It's very easy to go in and just cut around the image. You can even cut off pieces that you don't want that way. You can separate it into different groups. If I had only wanted these 3 flowers, I certainly could have fussy cut just those along with maybe a few leaves. But I trimmed it down to what would fit well on the card. And then our sentiment panel, you saw this last week as well. I just love it because it looks so lacy. And what I thought we would do is make this a Mother's Day card. The stamp set that we got last week has lots of wonderful, oops, turn it over, lots of wonderful sentiments as well as some pretty design stamps. And I chose the Happy Mother's Day one. I already have that mounted on my stamp. Those are the main pieces that we're going to be using. We'll be embellishing with the white baker's twine that came with it, as well as the really pretty pearls that came with it. This one, again, is going to go together super, super easy. So the first thing I want to do is work with my design panel. And I'm not going to add too much else to the design because I really want those flowers to stand out. But I thought it would be really nice to have a touch of white in here to pick up the little white Swiss dots that you see in the pattern. And so what I'm going to do is just take my baker's twine and I'm going to wrap it around the card 2 or 3 times. I'll make it 3 times. And then just cut it off. Just like that. I'm just adhering it on the back, and you can see that because I looped it around 3 times, it gives it a little more weight, and it will show up better against all of the other pieces because I did run it around there 3 times. Now let's see, how do I want to, normally I would use fast fuse on this, but not having my fast fuse with me, so I'll take a little bit of liquid glue. And I'll just apply some right across the baker's twine like that, and it will stick it down. It may take it a moment for that to dry, so I'm just going to set it down carefully, making sure that I still have all of the pieces in contact with it. Pull that one a little tighter. And I'm just going to set my Stampin' Block down. Stampin' Blocks work really good as anchors. Put a little bit more glue on there over here, just so I know it's going to stay. And while that is working, let's go ahead and ink up our sentiment and stamp that. Now my sentiment has two sides to it. One is white, and the other one is a very soft ivory. And because we have a lot of the more muted colors in here, rather than the stark white, I'm going to go ahead and stamp on the side that has that light ivory. So I'll pick up my block here, and that's drying nicely. Bring in my Stampin' Spot, which also, as you remember, is included in your paper pumpkin. About the only thing that wasn't included in mine is the clear block. If you're a first-time Paper Pumpkin subscriber, though, never fear, they will send you a block to use. So I'll go ahead and just ink this up really well. And it's the first time I've used this stamp, so I just want to make sure that I've got some good ink on it. And I'm actually going to just stamp it on a scrap piece of paper. It looks like it's stamping well. So I'll re-ink it. And now I'm going to leave it on the fresh fig so that y'all can see it better. I'm just going to go ahead. Oh, I didn't ink that well. Get some on the bottom part here. That's much better. And now I can line it up where I want it. And I'm going to put this down towards the bottom because the flowers are actually going to hang over the top of this. So I'll put it down just to give it light, firm pressure. Hold it for about 3 to 4 seconds and then lift straight up. And we have our sentiment. All right, I'm going to set that aside to dry, bring back my design panel, put more of the multi-purpose liquid glue on it, because I'm going to glue this straight down to the fresh fig card base. I'm going to be popping the flowers up quite a bit, actually. We'll use a set of 2 dimensionals rather than 1 in the different places. So I'm going to keep the design panel flat onto the card base. I'm also going to spread out my baker's twine just a little bit here, just by sliding my thumbnail in there, trying not to get glue all over the place. Doesn't have to be perfect because remember, a lot of it we're not going to see. Just a bit's going to be peeking out. I'll lay that down flat on my card base. Make sure it has good contact with it. And you'll still be able to manipulate your baker's twine a little bit, even after you've put it down. Okay. I'm going to bring back in my sentiment panel, and basically it's going to sit here, and my flowers are going to sit right about there. And that's why I stamped the sentiment down lower on the sentiment panel so that you'd be able to see it. But it looks a little bit bare up here. I'm going to go ahead and take that flourish stamp that we worked with last week and just put maybe a couple flourishes on here to help fill in that white space. If the white space doesn't bother you, then you don't have to do this step. or if you wanted to use some of the smaller flowers that are in the kit to put one over there or two, you could do that as well. So I've inked this up, and I'm just going to decide where I want it. Get that one off there. And I think right there is probably good. So I'm going to stamp it down, hold firm pressure for a count of 3, and pull it up. Now when I put it down and I put the flowers on it, you can see it's going to cover a lot of that up, but it gives just enough there to help fill in that blank space. Okay, I'm going to put my sentiment down now, and I'm going to use dimensionals because with the baker's twine, if I tried to just glue it flat, it would kind of bump up in the middle where that baker's twine is. So we'll just put one layer of dimensionals on here to help prop it up. And because the baker's twine is in the center, I'm going to use it in the corners. So I'll put 4 of these on there. Ooh, they don't want to come loose of the pack. And you do get quite a few dimensionals. I showed last week, but a whole big sheet of them to use with this project. So you'll even have some left over to add to your stash. All right, peel the backing off these. And then bring it over to my panel and place it down. And because I've got the dimensionals in this corner and these corners and these corners, that helps prevent the sentiment strip from buckling up in the center. Now let's go ahead and work on our flowers. As I mentioned, I'm going to pop these up. I could lay them flat, but again, because I have dimensionals on my sentiment strip, it would make it uneven. And I could even just pop it up with one set of dimensionals and not put any dimensionals on the flower parts that spill over onto the sentiment, and that would work. But I really want to give this a lot of depth that really adds when you're trying to make it truly a 3D project. So I'm going to double up on my dimensionals, and that's really easy to do. All you need to do is, instead of just putting one dimensional down by itself, put one down, peel off the backing, and put another one directly on top of it. I'll do that in a few key places here. And I may only put one down where the flowers spill over. So on the yellow flower and this crumb cake one behind it, I'll probably just use one right there. But for the rest of it, I'm going to go ahead and double it up. Get a lot of use out of my dimensionals. I'm going to scatter them around the edges to make sure that I don't end up with any of the flowers getting smushed down. And then I'll put a couple, 3 of them. A couple, 3, that's got to be a Texas thing. I'll put a couple, 3 of them right there. I'm going to peel the backings off. Now remember, I don't want to double up on these 2 down here, so I'm going to leave those alone, put my finger there so I know which ones I don't want to double up on. But the rest of these, I'm going to go ahead and lift the backings. And they're coming off pretty easy tonight. You do want to, however, stick to you. Well, I said that too soon. There's always one in the group that manages to hang on for dear life. There we go, just a couple more. And like I said, if you didn't want that much dimension, just put one everywhere except those 2 flowers that are going to hang over. And I still have the backings on those. That's how I can tell that I don't want to double up on them. But for the rest of these, I'll go ahead and double up. Don't have to worry about lining them up exactly. They will stick just fine. Almost done. Just a couple more. One more. And I think I'll put one on this end to hold that in place as well. So I'll peel the backing off that, put an additional one, and now all that's left is to peel all these backings off, and I can also take them off the ones where I only used one dimensional. And we're almost done with this, believe it or not. There are so many different things that I thought of to do with this kit. I just almost wish that I had gotten two of them. Now there I forgot to take the backing off and it's not sticking. So if you ever have one that seems like it wants to come up, it's probably because you didn't take the backing off. But I'll probably be playing around with that kit even more to come up with other alternatives. I am going to leave the envelopes though, because I just love the fact that it says flowers and seeds on them. And with it being spring, ready to plant flowers, it'll be great to put some seed packets in there to give to friends as gifts. I know that's the one thing when you use a ton of dimensionals, it does take a couple seconds here to make sure you get all the backings off. That does it. All right. So I'll bring this down where we can see it again. And like I said, I trimmed this down, but I still left it plenty long to where it's going to come all the way off the design panel. So it hangs off the design panel over here as well as at the top. All right. So you can see the added dimension that it gives the card by doubling up on those dimensionals. If you were going to mail that, you might have to put an extra stamp on it just to make sure that there's no postage due on it. I really like it, but these beautiful pearls that they sent us with it, they come in two colors. One of them is the fresh fig and the other one is powder pink. So as soon as I can remember how I got into these last time, they seal them up so well. There it is. Go in here and just lift off that backing. And because we've got a lot of pink going on already, I think I'm going to choose the fresh fig ones. Help to bring out our card base. So I'll just pick a couple of these up. And I know I want to put one over here on the sentiment panel. I think I'm going to put another one probably on the opposite corner to help balance it out. So right down here. And then my third one, form my usual little triangle to help draw the eye in. I think I'm going to use it as the center of this yellow flower. That fresh fig just really pops against that yellow color. You certainly could use more if you wanted to put the pearls in each of the flowers. Then I'd say go ahead and alternate the powder pink and the fresh fig if you don't want to do all fresh fig. You get also a very nice balance that way. But I'm going to leave that at just 3 of the fresh fig ones. Hi, Amy. Thank you for joining. And that pretty much is it. Oh, you know what, though? What did I forget? Wink of Stella. Got to have a little shimmer and shine. So I think I'll just pick out my pink flowers here to add some Wink of Stella. Give them that extra little pop. The other thing I could do if I had my glossy accents with me is I could put that on there. And for those of you who've never used glossy accents, it makes it very, very shiny, almost like looking at glass, and helps to give it a little added dimensional. But you can see, especially on this pink one, how beautiful a little bit of Wink of Stella makes these. All right, bring this up so that you can see it again. And there is my Happy Mother's Day card. I hope that you'll give this a try if you've already purchased the 5th anniversary paper pumpkin from March. If you didn't get one, they are sold out, but have no fear. Every month is a brand new paper pumpkin, and it's like Christmas because you just never know what's going to be inside of it. So for those of you who are brand new to card making itself, this is a great jumping off point for you. Great instructions are provided. All of the supplies that you need are in the kit. And as you saw, you can come up with your own versions of cards just by using the supplies in a different way. If you need to shop for anything, including a paper pumpkin subscription, please go to my blog. It's cardsbywinnie.wordpress.com, and you'll see a Shop Now button in the upper right panel. If you don't write that down or you've forgotten it and it's next week or so and you can't remember my blog, just drop me a note and I'll be more than happy to help you. So for those of you who also join my Saturday Anything Goes series, we won't be having one this Saturday because we're all going to be at Stampin' Up's On Stage Local. But the great thing about that is when I come back, we'll have some brand new products that we can talk about. All right, well, I'll go ahead and close it out. I hope you all have a great rest of the week, and I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye-bye now.